So again, bienvenidos a todos. For those of you joining us for the very first time, welcome to Conchas y Café, a bilingual community writing workshop series. Conchas y Café, como es bilingüe, se ofrece en ambas idiomas, inglés y español. Y aquí también ofrecemos la oportunidad para todos que gustan aprender cómo escribir, que comparten todo lo que escriben y que aprenden durante los talleres. Every week, we're going to have a different topic, and we're going to actually continue with a format that we introduced towards the end of our last series, where we'll have 1 week with a lesson, followed by a week of workshopping. So that means that today, Abraham is going to teach a lesson, and then next week, we'll actually, get together and you'll all be able to workshop your writing for the week. And so with all of that, we're going to eventually build towards publishing a new zine. It'll be issue number 2 of volume 7. So our 7th year of publishing Conchas y Café. And yeah, big bad 7. Y pues, no creo que tenga mucho más que decir. For those of you that haven't met me before, my name is Luis Antonio Pichardo, and I'm the founder and executive director of DSTL Arts. And most of the time I would be the one teaching the workshops, but now that I have my amazing master teaching artist also working with me, Abraham Jaramil, today he will be the one to lead us off, and I'll let him kind of introduce himself and our special guest that we have joining us today. So Abraham, ahí te va.
Hi guys, nice to see you. It's 2022? We made it. Well, kind of. I was sick. I got COVID for 2 weeks, so it was tricky. So again, guys, take care of yourselves. And as every I told you, it's not a joke. Wash your hands. Be distant to people, and first of all, get your vaccines just in case. Good thing I have my boosters and everything. So it wasn't that bad, but I had to be at home for a while. So that's a bummer for me. And so before we start, I also have an announcement, right, Luis? We have a podcast. I just noticed yesterday that we have the second episode or first episode basically out. And so I was trying to promote that. Check it out. It's on YouTube, and you can also watch it on the webpage. You can find it at DSTL Arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
So we're going to start today with the lecture, okay? So let me share the screen. So today's quote, let me actually get a little bigger. See, let's see a little more. Okay. So the quote goes like this. My friend Kira always said that life is like an extremely difficult, horribly unbalanced video game. When you are born, you are given a randomly generated character with a randomly determined name, race, face, and social class. Your body is your avatar, and you spawn in a random geographic location at a random moment in human history, surrounded by a random group of people, and then you have to try to survive for as long as you can. This quote comes from Ernest Cline, and it's from a book that I've been reading called Ready Player 2. Before we discuss it, I want to read in Spanish for you guys. So, la cita de hoy dice así. Mi amiga Kira siempre decía que la vida es como un videojuego extremadamente difícil y horriblemente desequilibrado. Cuando naces, te dan un personaje generado al azar, con un nombre, raza, rostro y clase social determinados al azar. Tu cuerpo es tu avatar y engendras en ubicación geográfica aleatoria en un tiempo al azar de la historia humana, rodeado de un grupo de aleatorio de personas, y luego tienes que intentar sobrevivir el mayor tiempo posible. Esta cita viene de Ernest Klein, de un libro que estoy leyendo, se llama Listo Jugador 2. Y claramente hay dos libros, este es el segundo libro. Okay, so how do you guys see the quote? What do you guys think about it? ¿Qué piensan de la cita de hoy?
Well, it reminds me of what's going on now. Nothing new under the sun. When it mentions a history surrounded by a random group of people, and then you have to try to survive for as long as you can. So I wrote a poem one time about the devil being on your back, trying to stop your track, and so that little part there, I don't know if it's gonna, has any reference to it, but that's what it reminds me of. Random people, nobody in Pacific, you bump into somebody, you say, "Oh, excuse me, have a nice day." What's so good about it, Oh, people coming out of the woodwork, So that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts on it? Catherine Vegas raised her hand.
Yeah, this was quite a beautiful metaphor and image. What I like about it is that, life imitates art. So when we're looking at a video games are kind of balanced. They're already programmed or pre-programmed, and they take you on a journey. And we're actually born into what I call a perfect chaos. So even though it's unbalanced, because that's the way it feels for us as we're working on our survival, I feel like there is a perfect balance in the bigger question. The question is, the question that I have is it completely random? Like, are we born into, did we choose what our avatar when we were born? Like, that's my curiosity. I'm just throwing that out there for us.
It's funny that you mention it, because I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks before I got COVID, and she was talking about she didn't say she wanted to be born, because she had issues with her parents and everything. But at the same point, I was like, it's funny because nobody had that choice, right? Her parents didn't even have that choice either. So it's kind of fair in a sense, right? You just are born where you are, and you have to do the most with what you have, right? And to me, this quote also help us see that it's a lot of different players in the case of video games, right? And in life, it's the same thing. It's a lot of different people with different perspectives, because there are different places, different cultures. They were born in different situations, right? Anybody else have any more ideas on this? ¿Alguien más quiere hablar de la cita de hoy?
Well, I don't know if you can see the chat with your screen being presented, but San Juanita wrote in the chat that she likes how you can actually build up your avatar in some games, which makes sense. Like if you think about it, in certain kinds of games, you can acquire new skills and you build up experience points and become stronger and stronger. And if we're gonna kind of take that into even real life, también en la vida, así es como vivimos, ¿no? As we're born, we're at like level 1, and then every time that we have a new experience, we level up, and we learn new things and new skills. And I like this quote because of that. There is that definite parallel between video games and even real life. It's not that far-fetched to make the comparison.
Yeah, reaching beyond the break of life. I wrote a poem about that too.
Yeah. Then I can see, San Juanita wrote that. That's exactly what San Juanita was thinking too. Like that concept of we gain experience as we get older, I guess.
Yeah, definitely that's the case.
Well, that's very true. It's like becoming mature, learning how to deal with things, I don't like to keep saying it, but I like I said before, I'm retired. I'm going to be 79 this year. So I write a lot. I think a lot. I meditate a lot. And so another poem that I had wrote, and I think I sent it to you on the survival thing, about if you can deal with people talking about you, but not hating them, not feeding into their thing, their way of thinking. If you can see people hating, but not hate yourself, hating you, but you're not hating them, just knowing how to reflect, how to respond to their illness, because that's what it is. Their illness, they have a personal issue. It's not you, it's them. So we have to learn how, in our maturity, not getting old, but being well seasoned, we know how to deal and what to expect from them, and we're not shocked when it happens.
Because you understand them a little more. We have also a Jan Ortega who raised his hand, or her hand. You want to speak?
Hi, yeah. Hi, everybody. Buenas noches. I feel like I was thinking at first about like what makes this feel horribly unbalanced and difficult. And it seems like I'm just thinking now after hearing all of you talk about these like circumstances that we don't have like control over. And then as y'all were talking, I was thinking about like how then can we make that balanced? How then can we make these circumstances that we feel like we have no control over balanced, to have some kind of control or to like shift the balance, right? I don't know, it's just what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons in books and poems, we always try to touch subjects and put them in different covers, like a book, right? And in this book, it's always talking about video games, but it's also going back to the real life. And like the purpose of this is to see other people's perspective, like we're saying. And I think the more you understand people, the more you're gonna try to either help them or see how alleviate a problem, because you understand them more, because you put yourself into their shoes, right? We have Luz. You raise your hand.
Yes, I was feeling like with this metaphor that like in life, there's no real rules to the game, or you kind of can make up your own rules and it's all just hit and miss. And the points don't really matter.
Definitely, yeah. I mean,
because
you
there's
just
no way to win. How do you win this game?
I guess, like it said, like the longest you can survive.
But can you win?
Depends what you call winning, right? I think just playing the game is winning. Points don't matter, Kathleen, that she wrote in the chat. Okay, anybody else have any more to say about this one before we move on? Okay.
No, I was just saying it also reminded me of the Game of Life, the board game.
Oh, I haven't played that one. Is it good?
It was a board game we played as kids, and you just got assigned to a little car, and then later if you got married, there was somebody else in your car, and then if you had kids, there were more people in your car, and then different things happened to you in life. And I don't really know that you could win the game either, but it was fun to play, because things would come up in life, and it was an adventure. So.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out. We also have Tina, who she raised her hand. You want to say something?
Actually, it was me, David. So I don't remember exactly where I read it. I want to say it's the New Yorker magazine, but I'm not sure. But it was a reputable source that talked about a theory, a mathematical theory. I mean, stuff that I don't understand. That there's like a 50-50 chance that we're living in a matrix or a video game. When I read it, it seemed like a reputable theory. I was like, wow, there's an argument that this could actually be happening.
I think it goes along with the multiverse theory, where different things, different spaces happen at the same time, and we could be in a video game, right?
Yeah, it could be in a matrix. We don't know.
Doesn't it make so much sense?
Well, sometimes when you have deja vus, I feel like the computer got a little messed up there.
Like glitches and things like that.
Yeah, we have the server.
I have lots of glitches.
Okay, we have Rocio Diaz. Raise your hand.
Yes, hi. So when I read this earlier, or when it was sent, I took the time to read it, and it just reminded me of like spirituality and like how deep we how deep we can get into, and I think for me it reminded me of like purpose in the chaos, right? But a lot of this is mentioned like in spirituality, like race, face, body, and then within the chaos there's beauty. And
Definitely.
it's like that quote of like, either you, something about the rain, right? You learn how to dance in the rain. So it took me there, and that obviously was very deep.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the reasons I love this book. And well, we already had a first book before this one. It kind of seems like a funny thing talking about video games. When you get into the book, it actually speaks a lot of different social and personal issues using the metaphor of video games. And it plays with nostalgia. Oh, sorry, we have one more. Janie Martinez.
Yeah, I have a question, and I know that we already knew that the theme. What is the theme this time for this? What is the theme for the
Caregiving.
The theme for Luis, you want to say it?
Yeah, it's caregiving.
caregiving? Okay, okay. I'm trying to relate this one to caregiving or to
Everything's a mystery. It has its purpose.
There you go.
So I guess for that we're gonna move on
Ben?
for the poem of the day. Let me just scroll down, and I'm gonna ask somebody to read the English version first. So vamos a seguir con el poema del día de hoy y primero vamos a comenzar en inglés. Alguien por favor lo puede leer en inglés y después seguimos en español. Who wants to take it? Okay, we have Gustavo. You said you raised your hand.
Oh, I raised my hand for a second, but as long as I can see it, hi everybody. Thanks, Abraham. But I can't see the poem, and I'm not too great at navigating through.
Well, if somebody else can see it, they can probably read it if they want it.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else wants to? Tina. Awesome. Take it.
Okay.
You want me to make it a little bit bigger, or is it fine?
It's okay. I got it. Another goodbye. I said goodbye to you today in my own quiet way. A hidden tear was shed, tribute to the life you led. Empty chair, an unspoken reminder of you, too soon to be filled by a patient so new. Numb to the pain of so many goodbyes, sorrow hidden secretly, brushing tears from my eyes. You join the others who paved the way for you, the leader, the songman, the feisty one too, the one who decided that he'd just had enough, saying farewell to you. All has been so tough.
Sorry, this is a little more.
I'm sorry. I like to imagine you are all gathered up there, playing poker, having feasts, so many stories to share. No more restrictions on fluid and food. No longer chained to disease as it has as it should. Those of us left behind, keep your memory alive, working
Scap.
hard every day to keep others, to help others survive. Chair no longer empty, a new soul to tend, hidden tears suppressed, a new beginning to the end.
Thank you, Tina. And ¿alguien lo puede leer en español? Before we start discussing, somebody can read in Spanish.
I can read it in Spanish for you guys if you want.
Thank you, Luis.
Huevo. All right.
Ahora que viene preparado de México.
Exactly. Otro adiós, por Jennifer Huff. Hoy me despedí de ti, a mi manera tranquila. Se derramó una lágrima oculta, homenaje a la vida que llevaste. Silla vacía, un recordatorio tácito de ti, demasiado pronto para ser llenado por un paciente tan nuevo. Entumecido por el dolor de tantas despedidas, dolor escondido, secretamente limpiando las lágrimas de mis ojos. Te uniste a los demás que te prepararon el camino, el líder, el cantor, el luchador también, el que decidió que ya había tenido suficiente. Decir adiós a todos ustedes ha sido muy duro. Me gusta imaginar que están todos reunidos allí, jugando al póker, cenando banquetes, tantas historias para compartir. No más restricciones de líquidos y alimentos. Ya no estar encadenado a la enfermedad es como debería ser. Los que quedamos atrás mantenemos viva su memoria, trabajando duro todos los días para ayudar a otros a sobrevivir. La silla ya no está vacía, una nueva alma que atender. Las lágrimas ocultas, reprimidas, un nuevo comienzo hasta el final.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna just go back to that and you can see it. Does anybody wants to talk about this poem? Let's check it out. ¿Alguna persona quiere hablar del poema?
Okay, I'm the talky one. It reminds me of a poem I wrote for my husband when I went to his gravesite, and it talked about the blanket of cement, and it says, "You're not there." I can't remember verbatim, but it talks about him not being there. It's only the body that is there, but your spirit is not, and so on and so forth. And so this is what that reminds me of. And I wrote in my notes a tribute saying goodbye to a loved one. And that's what I got from it.
Yeah, definitely has that. Yeah.
Also, a little note for those of you that might have read the handout. The author is an actual nurse, a licensed practical nurse is what it's called in other states. Here in the state of California, that would be also known as a licensed vocational nurse, an LVN. And those are typically people that provide care, either at a hospice or, in some sort of a facility where people are there, because they need regular care from a nurse. So something to consider, as you think about the poem.
We have Jenny, want to speak? Jenny, you want to say something?
I didn't turn on my mic. I'm sorry. So what I am reading, or what I read, what I liked, I guess, is how this person talks about how she, I guess, in a way, becomes attached to these people. And a lot of the times, sometimes people, I've been in the hospital many times, that there are some nurses that are awesome, and then there are some nurses that are like, I think you need to take a little vacation, But I see how this nurse seems to be like attaches to these people, and I've had beautiful experiences too of nurses that are so caring, and she seems to be that kind of nurse. And the way I picked it up right away when she put to be filled by a patient so new, that gives it away that she's a very caring nurse, and that she really becomes attached to the people she cares for. I like the way she wrote at the end. Let's see. Well, I only see it in English, where she says, that you went to unite with, and all these different personalities, which means that she actually takes the time to not just, take care of the patient, but, looks into their stories, their histories, because she put.
It's I like to imagine you are gathered up there, playing poker, having feast, so many stories to share. No more restrictions on fluids and food, no longer chained to disease. It is
So
as
I
it
like
should.
that.
Yeah, it has a lot of powerful little parts in it.
Definitely. Beautiful.
So anybody wants to say anything else? Or Jenny, you finished?
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
¿Alguien más quiere hablar del poema? Catherine?
Thank you. It did change for me when Luis pointed out that this was a LPN, and that could possibly be, well, is obviously working either in a hospital or in hospice. And one of the things that I wanted to do after my father passed away, because we were in hospice for a little while, is volunteer for a hospice facility. Because of that transition time period, she articulated the transition, from this life to the next so beautifully. And obviously, if you're living with death every day, which is what she's describing, I love the way that she used all the metaphors to describe that transition, which hospice workers kind of hold the container of peace, and that this poem holds that feeling of peace.
Yes, very much. Thank you. Luz, you want to say something as well?
Yeah, I particularly like the line where she says, where she's naming the patients, the leader, the songman.
Oh, let me find it now.
The feisty one. That's definitely something that that nurses do. We just nickname patients in our mind because it's really hard to keep track of names, right? And actually, just names don't matter, but the character of the person tends to come through. So yeah, the feisty one, is very representative of something that the nurses will do. And I just felt that the whole poem was basically her way of expressing how she copes with loss. And since there is so much loss, well, I guess in the death and dying process, so obviously that's the setting, and it's pretty much describing how she copes with it, because that really is the key to surviving on a unit where there's a lot of death and dying.
Yeah, I think you have to build that up.
The nurses that can't survive, or I guess are the ones that were being described, the ones that become callous or become or appear to be callous, is because they're coping actually in a different way, because it does become exhausting, and so they sometimes have to build up those walls and appear to be uncaring. But burnout is very high in nursing.
Yeah, you never know when you're gonna find a nurse at what moment in their life, or maybe that week something happened to them, and you never know. Jenny, you want to say something else?
No, I just wanted to add to what Luz was saying,
Go for it.
that they give names to the patients. And it made me wonder, I wonder they call me feisty. Nurse, I've been calling you. Just imagine, oh my gosh. So we do get names, huh?
Well, it's just yeah, it's just
No, but it's true, you know.
and it also respects confidentiality. I mean, you can't go around saying people's names and you'll not get in trouble, right? So
Yeah,
the last thing I did want to say is that I really, just from having started in nursing school, my class was of 110 nursing students, and I think all of them start off caring. And the intention is always, I feel, good to go through that process alone. But yeah, throughout the years, yeah, there's nurses that get burned out, and yeah, if they are burned out, then they should know when to quit. But some obviously don't.
Yeah, it seems to be a hard job.
It is definitely. So.
Anybody else have any other?
Well, I just want to agree with what Lou said in the beginning about the nurses. I didn't look at the handout, and so I didn't understand the caregiving in that manner. But there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is you're saddened. Empathy means that you know what they're going through. And so with me nursing my husband in his dementia was very saddening. And I had hospice in the house with him. And then with him being in the Army, he was able to go to a hospital where they gave me a week's rest. So I wouldn't get burned out, you know. So the nurses, they don't have that, how do you say, that luxury, you know. And then, you know, they allowed him to come back home, of course. But when you have empathy with the patients that you know, caring for, it's hard on those care providers. It's really hard because it takes you home.
Yeah, as Luz said, to me, what called me in for about this poem is the way the nurse expresses the way she already not submits, but what's the term for it? I think accepts the fine truth of death, that all her patients might die, and then she takes it in as it is, right? And knows that the only thing she can do is take care of them and the next ones, and making their passing go as smooth as she can. And I can see a lot of good intention in her poem, and also a lot of respect and trying to keep their memory alive, because that's the only thing that stays, right?
A lot of compassion.
Yeah, that's what called me for this. It has a lot of good expressions on this poem about those specific things that especially nurses go through, you know, the good ones.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that I wanted to point out, you know, was a quick little conversation in the chat about, you know, how this poem probably would have a different tone right now with, you know, the pandemic and, you know, the type of burnout that nurses are experiencing now. So, you know, to see something that is written with a lot of compassion, for me personally, I think that this poem definitely illustrates what people do to best cope through the loss of anyone. You don't even have to be, you know, a personal associate of a person, right? It doesn't have to be a family member who is being written about, or who you get to know and you know, you write about in this way. It can be any person that you care for, even if it's just for a short little period of time. You know, I think the act of caring is inherently an act of compassion, and, you know, giving a little bit of yourself and receiving from the other person as well. So I definitely appreciate this poem for the way that it does respectfully show us a genuine love for you know, fellow human beings.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, before we move on, anybody else have any other last words for this poem? Antes que sigamos, ¿alguien más tiene algunas palabras para este poema? Gustavo, por favor. Gustavo, si estás ahí?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, can you see me? Anyways,
now we can see it.
So let's see. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for that poem, and I was playing around with a poem about I've been my dad's caregiver, and I didn't get too far in my poem. I wrote like just a couple lines, and but thanks for that poem, because as I stumble through my words, well, it gives me now I'm inspired to actually write a poem about caring for my dad. And so my dad's really, 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 really feisty. When I was caring for him, because I don't consider myself his caregiver right now, today, anymore. Because when I did a year ago, as COVID was first hitting, and so I was his caregiver all throughout for about a year or more. And I mean, I remember 4th of July, I saw stars, and it wasn't because it was fireworks. It was because he hit me really hard in the jaw, and so stuff like that. But anyway,
What did you do, Gustavo?
I know. Yeah. What did I do, huh? Oh yeah, that part. Oh yeah, dang it. I forget. Yeah.
It's just hard, man. Like, especially if you're taking care of a parent, since they were your caregivers, it kind of hits on them differently than if it was somebody else. I think that's a really tricky one.
Well, yeah, and then my dad's so different from my mom. I mean, they're polar opposites. My mom's really generous and sweet, and my dad is not. And so it was harsh. So right now, like, I can't really say I'm his caregiver. I'm not. I help him. He sometimes says that I care for him, but he just turned 94, but he's going on 59. Like, when I left to a meeting today, he was busy doing yard work. And he'll do yard work every day, all throughout the day. So he's pretty self-sufficient. But anyway, I don't want to go off kind of and ramble anymore. I just wanted to say that I can relate to what people are saying in terms of caregiving, but also is that I'm inspired. Like, now I have something to write about. Like, now because of the poem that you read, now I have inspiration to write. So I'm looking at this paper and I'm like, okay, I want to start writing, you guys. So
that's what we're here for. I'm glad you said that, because that's what Luis and I are here for. Like, we're trying to get people inspired, and you guys inspire each other as well, and inspire us too, like you just did. Before we start, I don't know what time it is, so we're gonna continue. Okay. Let me move on to the next part. Oh, the favorite part of the class, homework. I'm gonna start with the homework because it's gonna help us to go to the next step of the class. So before that, okay, the homework is, as in a video game, you are going to become another character other than yourself. This is called point of view, and it is what the speaker, narrator, or a character can see from their perspective. In other words, you are going to write from the point of view of somebody else's shoes, okay? And voy a leer en español la tarea, porque sí, vamos a continuar con la tarea, porque nos va a ayudar.
It looks like Abraham's freezing there a little bit.
Permítame tantito. Es que me faltó algo.
In the case, if you can see the screen, as you can see, la tarea es, como en un videojuego, vas a convertirte en otro personaje, uno que no es tú. Esto se llama punto de vista y es lo que el hablante, narrador o personaje puede ver desde su perspectiva. En otras palabras, van a escribir del punto de vista de otro personaje.
Sí, muchas gracias. ¿Algunas preguntas más sobre la tarea antes de que sigamos? Tina,
So you are the character and you are writing as the character.
We're gonna give you the character in a little bit, and then you're gonna write as that person. But I just wanted to see like you understood that part of it. Okay. Sweet.
Well, I think Tina's asking
Well, I
you
guess
for the
I'll move on.
homework. Right. So for the homework, you're writing as a different character, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna tell you a little bit about the character you're gonna write as. Okay. Okay, we wanna move on to the part so it will inform you, and we're gonna talk about the homework a little bit. Okay. So to help you with the homework, I'm gonna introduce you to a new concept. The concept is the human library. It's a very much like a regular library where people go to check out books. The only difference is that the books are all human volunteers who have opted to speak about their experience openly to an interested audience and answers any questions they are asked. Each volunteer is a book on a particular topic. The movement first started in Copenhagen, Denmark in 2000. It aims to address people's prejudices by helping them to talk to those they would not normally meet. Y para en español, les voy a presentar un concepto nuevo para ayudarlos a la tarea. Este concepto se llama la biblioteca humana. Es muy parecida a una biblioteca normal donde la gente va y saca libros. La única diferencia es que los libros son todos voluntarios humanos que han optado por hablar abiertamente sobre sus experiencias a una audiencia interesada y responder cualquier pregunta que se les haga. Cada voluntario es un libro sobre un tema en particular. El movimiento comenzó en Copenhague, Dinamarca, en el 2000. Su objetivo es abordar a los prejuicios de las personas, ayudándolos a hablar con personas con las que normalmente no se encontrarían con. Okay? ¿Alguna pregunta? Anybody else has any questions on this new concept?
Sounds like we're good.
Okay, we're good. Awesome. Okay. So I guess we're gonna start. So we're gonna start with the exercise. So I bring you a book, a familiar book. Today we have Luz Donis. She will give you the title of her book and she will answer questions you have regarding her subject. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think of the questions you want to ask. And just trying to remind you that these questions are gonna help you to do your homework. Basically, you're gonna put yourself in Luz's shoes, okay? So you're gonna write as her, okay? Y les voy a hablar español. El ejercicio de hoy les traigo un libro, bueno, también familiar, porque en español les traigo a Alejandra. Ella es mi mamá. Está bajo el nombre Abraham Jaramillo en la pantalla. Maybe you can see me in the back. Pueden ver atrás. Ella les va a dar también el título de su libro y va a responder preguntas. Y esas preguntas son relevantes a la tarea que ustedes van a hacer, porque ustedes se van a poner los zapatos básicamente de Alejandra. ¿Ok? So, without further ado, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about your questions. Les voy a dar un rato para que puedan pensar en las preguntas que quieren hacerle a Luz y a Alejandra. ¿Okay? Luz va a responderles en inglés y Alejandra en español. Any
I have a
questions?
question.
There you go.
What is the title of her book?
She's going to give it to you. Thank you for reminding me. Luz, without further ado, do.
The title of my book is Service with a Smile.
¿Y el otro título en español?
Y el
You guys hear?
No,
now we can hear you.
Oh, but do you guys hear her or not?
no.
Okay, well, I'll help her out.
Mi nombre es Alejandra Durón. Feliz Año Nuevo, primeramente. Y mi título de mi libro se llama Experiencia trabajando con personas adultas de la tercera edad.
You guys heard that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna start with Luz. So whenever you guys have a chance to ask her, go for it. Luis?
Okay. My question, Sister Luz, what keeps you smiling when attending people with hurt and pain?
Great
She's
question.
always smiling. I'm ready for her. You have a happy heart.
I think it was part of my training, and if I don't mind saying, I was brainwashed. Becoming a nurse is a process, and part of it is to maintain your composure, to help the patient through what they're going through.
Tina?
Would you mind telling us about one of your most difficult cases?
I'd love to. I think as a student nurse, I was assigned to a patient dying of AIDS. And everyone on the unit, this was General Hospital. I was trained in LA County Medical Center. And everyone was afraid to care for the AIDS patients because we didn't quite know how contagious AIDS was. To the point where some nurses carried their charts with a barrier, a paper towel, in order just not to even touch their chart. So you can imagine the fear involved in caring for a patient like that. So I think I really, for the first time, felt like a nurse, encountering a very sick young man with all of the AIDS symptoms and full-blown AIDS, and showing compassion, giving care when others didn't so readily. So that was, I think, my first real hurdle, and I guess I found the vocation I was looking for.
Thank you. We have Tina again.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Luz. And I'm struck by, I mean, there must be nurses going through similar now with COVID, especially when it first started.
Absolutely. It's kind of like you are putting your own well-being on the line for the well-being of others. So it is a very difficult thing to do because, of course, our instincts are self-preservation. Thank you, David.
Catherine?
Yo ahora le voy a preguntar a Alejandra de las experiencias trabajando con personas de la tercera edad. ¿Cuál es el perspectivo más positivo trabajando con personas de la tercera edad y cuál es el lado más duro?
Bueno, lo positivo es que te aprendes a querer a la gente con la convivencia. y también son personas las que son muy agradecidas. Bueno, yo he tenido experiencia que las personas con las que he trabajado son tan agradables y tan agradecidas por cualquier cosa que tú le haces. Ellos están todo el tiempo agradeciéndote. Y por otra parte, no es bueno. Lo que ellos te pagan no es mucho. Pero cuando tú quieres ayudar y cuando quieres a esas personas, no te importa el pago, solamente quieres ayudar y saber que están bien y poderlas ayudar en lo máximo.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Also, we have a little pause. I'm gonna ask a question for you, Luz.
Yes.
One, let me try to phrase it. When is the time that you almost, or did you ever had a time you almost quit?
Yes, as a brand new nurse, on my shift, I was still in the process of completing my orientation. I was working on a pediatric rehabilitation unit. The patients were either brain injured or spinal cord injured. And one of the patients ended up having a code blue, and she ended up having a further severe brain injury. And I felt very like it was my fault. So at that point, and I was a very new nurse, I thought, this is too much responsibility. And I just felt very affected by the whole scenario. And in the end, I ended up being the scapegoat as well for the situation. So it was very devastating, very early in my career. But thankfully, I kept going. So, but yeah, you do go through quite an initiation with nursing or the medical field.
Before Annie asks the next question, I wanted just to do a quick follow-up question. Then, what was the thing that fixed it, or what was the thing that made you stay?
I think the great thing about nursing in general and being in the county healthcare system is that there's such a wide variety of areas to work in. So I just switched areas, and thankfully, I was accepted in another unit and continued with my career. So I think that's what saved me.
Thank you. Annie has a question.
Yes. Hi, Luz.
Hey, Annie.
My question is, since you're as someone who's mastered, this as a principle, what would you say is the key lesson or the key skill that someone has to achieve or understand in order to be able to provide service with a smile?
Thankfully, I did think about this beforehand. I was thinking of the chapters that I would write relating to my experiences as a nurse. And one of them is something we learned in nursing called the hierarchy of needs. And you learn about basic needs, and then you go up the ladder to more altruistic needs. And I think what I learned is that I have to put my own needs first to have the energy to be able to generate any energy for the needs of others. So it was an interesting balance to find, and I think I did better sometimes and at other times I didn't, but I did have to choose, weigh my limitations and have an understanding of how much stress, how much, I right away decided I couldn't do night shift. I just couldn't. I just couldn't function. I couldn't do death and dying either. It was just, I'd be weeping with the patients. It was horrible. So you just start to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and then you just carve your way through that, and then learn to recharge so that you're ready to keep on going and to avoid the burnout.
And you have any more questions? Sorry, I muted you because you had some echo.
Yes, sorry about that. No, thank you. That was beautiful answer. And I really needed to hear that.
You're welcome. My pleasure, Andy.
Can I say something?
Go for it.
I just want to say, Luz, without knowing, every Wednesday night you are being prayed for. Our church have our Wednesday night prayer meetings on Zoom, and all the ministers are given different assignments. And my assignment is to pray for the community and for the first responders and those that give care. So every Wednesday night you have been being prayed for, and it's been going on for a while.
Thank you, Miss Lois. I'm a caregiver to my parents now. I've retired from nursing, although at some point I think, or I guess I'd never really taken off that nursing cap. It just tends to fly back on. So,
well, anyone that gives care, yeah.
The prayers are definitely needed. Thank you.
Yo tenía una pregunta para la señora Alejandra. ¿Qué es la experiencia más valiosa que vivió durante su tiempo trabajando con la gente de la tercera edad?
Bueno, la cosa más valiosa es que puedes convivir con las personas que cuidas y también valoras mucho su confianza, su tiempo que ellos también te ponen a ti para que los atiendas y también uno puede dedicarse más a ellos. Y yo pienso que también es importante cuando uno está muy, ¿cómo se podría decir? Muy relacionado con ellos, porque así los puedes atender mejor y los entiendes más. Pero también hay cosas difíciles en las que tú convives mucho con ellos y aprendes a quererlos. Y el día que se marchan es muy doloroso para uno también. Y ahora, hace como 1 año y medio, trabajé para una pareja que la señora tenía Alzheimer y el señor tenía un tumor. Entonces, desgraciadamente vi morir a los dos. Y eso ha sido muy difícil porque los quieres. Aprendes a querer a las personas cuando convives con ellos. Entonces, cuando ellos se van, tú también lo sientes. Es como si fuera un familiar. Entonces, sí, hay cosas buenas, pero también difíciles.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Sí, gracias. Y otra pregunta, ¿qué es lo que encontró como forma de autocuidado durante su tiempo trabajando con diferentes personas?
Los cuidados que más encontré fue que tienes que estar al pendiente, por ejemplo, de dar medicamentos, hacer terapias y todo eso que uno no es, yo no soy enfermera, pero hay veces tú tienes que hacerlo de enfermera. Entonces tienes que tener mucha paciencia. Eso es lo que más he aprendido. De que tienes que tener paciencia, escucharlos y estar atentos más con las personas que tienen Alzheimer, porque en un descuido se salen. Cuidado.
También
pues,
como el autocuidado, el cuidado de uno mismo. En
el cuidado de uno mismo, pues
sí, ¿qué hacía usted para pues no sentirse agotada, hay que decir, con tanto trabajo que a veces me imagino
pues
tuvo?
primeramente relajarme y para poder sentirme mejor también, para cuidado mío, caminar para sentir no estrés, porque a veces te sientes muy estresado. Entonces ese cuidado es el que yo he tenido para mí, poder caminar, tratar de hacer respiraciones profundas para poder aguantar. Y también ver telenovelas, como dice mi hijo. Algo que te divierta, que te quite de esos pensamientos, pues, que pasan.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sí, gracias.
Gracias, muy amable.
Novelas. Same question for you though, Miss Luz. You know, what were some things that you did for self-care so that you wouldn't feel, burnt out so early on?
You talking to me?
No.
Miss Luz.
Oh. Well, like you said, Lois.
Well, I think learning to separate job, not taking the work home, and still, enjoying my family life and sports, my hiking, my figure skating, my other
Figure skating.
fun things to do. Well, I was a roller skater first, then I switched to figures.
That is another book.
That's another, yeah, that's another identity. But yeah, I guess always just having a life and enjoying it. So yeah, the job, I think, definitely always gave me purpose and meaning and satisfaction. But you still, I definitely valued my weekends and my holidays, and I think that's why I tended to shy away from bedside nursing, because they always wanted weekends and holidays regardless. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question, Luis.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just because I imagine, for working, whether that be with elderly people or in any kind of nursing ward, you probably do have to take care of yourself first, right? To be able to take care of others.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Catherine?
Una pregunta más para Alejandra.
Échale.
Hay una comparación cuidando a gente de la tercera edad y niños. Hay cosas que son similares.
Bueno, yo creo que es un poquito diferente, pero no tan similar, porque yo he cuidado niños también pero también he cuidado a ancianos. So, es mucha diferencia. Los babies también necesitan mucha atención, pero los ancianos también. Y más cuando tienes alguna discapacidad. Entonces, pues los niños todavía cuando son pequeños los puedes estar al frente de contigo. Y no, en gracias caso los puede cuidar más. Pero las personas adultas cuando tienen discapacidades, como cuando son de Alzheimer, en un momento se te pueden salir. Cuando tú ya te volteaste, ellos ya se fueron. Entonces sí hay mucha diferencia. Espero haya contestado su pregunta. Gracias.
Sí, claro que sí, más atención es necesario porque son adultos que pueden escoger más rápido.
Yo creo que no los puedes cargar.
Ya, no los puedes cargar.
Bueno, eso ya depende de la persona, ¿no?
La ponchada.
No, pues mi abuelito, él pesaba como unos 95 libras al fin, así que él sí. Yeah, my grandpa, when he was, at his in his final weeks, I mean, he lost a lot of weight, and we were all able to pretty much carry him as a child. So, yeah, I like this whole topic, this whole lesson has made me really reflect a lot on my grandparents, the ones that raised me, and I'm gonna get a little emotional right now thinking about it, but like it is difficult to take care of people, and to lose them when they're really close to you. So,
yeah.
And I can only imagine, even if it is just a short amount of time that you might be taking care of them, it's you do grow attached. I don't know if as a person that would want to give care, I can't imagine, you not being attached at some point with the people you care for, whether it's a job or not.
Yeah. Well, this was a hard month for me because my husband, he passed away 11 years ago, January the 7th, and my mom, who's passed away, her birthday was January the 4th. And I think about him all the time, especially Mr. King. It's hard, very hard.
Yeah, but yeah, like San Juanita wrote in the chat, los admiro a los dos, señora Luz, señora Alejandra. Ustedes dos son ángeles en la tierra. Your purpose in giving care and everything, I think, has made the world a better place, and I thank you for it, like most everyone else does too. So thank you for sharing today. Les agradezco mucho que hayan compartido sus experiencias con nosotros.
Un placer. It was my pleasure. I got to relive a lot of special moments in my nursing career, and thinking that maybe I could write a book about it.
Yes. We definitely will read it.
Thank you, everyone.
You're quite a lady.
Gracias.
Y gracias a usted.
Yeah, thank you too. Gracias a las dos. A las dos. Thank you.
Before we move on, make sure you guys have your questions, because remember, you're gonna write in the shoes of Alejandra o Luz, okay? So, por favor, avienten sus preguntas antes de que estos libros se cierren, porque su tarea se trata de eso, de ponerse en los zapatos de Alejandra o Luz. Okay?
In the shoes of
Mm-hmm. Or high heels, I don't know.
The shoe part, but I didn't get the rest of it. You gotta stop that.
In my day, there were white shoes, white pantyhose, white uniform, and a white cap. So I dare you guys to do that.
That's your homework, guys.
They totally don't wear dressed like that anymore.
They did in my day.
Okay, seems like everybody has their questions out, right? So I'm just gonna move on to the little extra that I wanna give you guys to help you with your homework. So the small tip is try to write in first person point of view, which is a first person perspective using I. This will help you to start talking or thinking as the character you're trying to speak for. Because remember, you're trying to put yourself in the mindset of the people you just asked the questions. Okay? Pequeño consejo, traten de escribir en el punto de vista en primera persona, que es una perspectiva en primera persona utilizando yo. Esto te ayudará a comenzar a hablar o pensar como el personaje por el que estás tratando de hablar. ¿Ok? So eso viene siendo la ayuda que les voy a dar para su tarea. So espero que hayan tomado notas. So I hope you guys took notes and make sure you have your questions out. And I'm super thankful for you, Luz and Mom, for helping us, because definitely it's a treat, because you usually don't get the chance to like these type of questions, especially to random people. And so I thank you guys a lot for this.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So I understand what we're supposed to do, but what are we gonna use as a book? We're gonna continue with Sister Luz?
No, this is just for this poem that you're gonna write about for next class. That's it. That's gonna be one poem. Just trying to put yourself, like in the poem we read at the beginning, but with the information you got from these questions we just did. So make sure you have all these questions. Hopefully the YouTube video will be up and you'll be able to review some of them if you didn't have the chance to write them down. Because
I'm clear with that, but when you say the human library and the book being a volunteer person.
That's Luz and Alejandra.
And so I was just wondering, in what topic should we use to draw our poem in reference to? Or
well, the book, the title that they choose is just to give it a title. But if you follow their conversations, you can see what the poem should be about. For example, Luz, she was speaking about nursing and the issues she had at work and all that. And Alejandra was talking about being a caregiver for adults. And so you're going to draw from that.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to keep on asking questions. You have, you didn't know exactly, you could have asked more questions.
No, I'm good with it. Yeah. And one more question. Whose mom is that?
That's my mom.
Oh, I kept smiling because she has these earphones and she's more up to date than I am.
Yeah, I let her borrow my brother's video game things.
And it's beautiful to have your mom with you. My mom's not with me, so.
No, I cherish every time that I have, especially to talk about these things with her.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. God bless her.
Thank you. She's the best.
Oh, she understood. Okay. Oh, God bless all of you. Next week.
Tina, I have a question.
Yeah. So it's a poem. It's in the form of a poem. That's what the homework. Okay,
if you want to do a short story, I'm pretty sure you can do that. But just for this format's sake, that's a little more compact. Maybe poem, but you can do a short story if you want.
Okay.
First person.
Yeah, try to do it. It's not exactly, you don't have to do it, but I think it will help you instead of saying she did or he did. If you put yourself in their minds, I think that would be better.
Yeah, like Abraham said, it's a tip. You know, it's a way to really embody the character that you're speaking from. You know,
put your white shoes on.
Yeah, so you know, if it helps, do a little cosplay, right?
Or mentally, that's the whole point.
Mental cosplay, yeah. But yes, you know, it's a poem or whatever comes out. Probably easiest if written in first person perspective.
I'm gonna put myself in loose shoes.
Yep.
White shoes of loose.
See, I like that. That keep on drawing from the things that we just discussed. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah.
She separated the house from her work.
And
I'm
again,
gonna
this is
spot you loose.
There's a question in the chat. I believe it's for Miss Luz. What year did you start?
I graduated January of '91. So, and I practiced close to 20 years.
Nice, very nice.
Happy anniversary, retired.
Okay. So if there are any other questions for either Miss Luz or Miss Alejandra, now is your chance. But before we do say goodnight, just wanted to remind everyone that next week we'll actually be workshopping your writing. So, as much as possible, come prepared. You'll be given a chance to share your writing with your fellow classmates and us. And also for everyone registered on Google Classroom, you'll also be able to upload your work there to get feedback from either myself or from Abraham directly on your writing too. So you'll have multiple opportunities to get feedback on your work and help you prepare for eventually publishing it, hopefully, in our next issue of Conchas y Café.
Tina just disappeared.
I see one last question here from Felicia. Did you wear a white dress?
Absolutely, all whites.
All whites.
White hose, white dress, white cap, which had stripes. You had to earn your stripes. In my day, you had to earn your cap the first 6 months, then you earned a stripe the second 6 months, then a second stripe, and then a full stripe across the cap.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah. It was, the LA County School of Nursing is about 100 years old when I graduated from it. And I think my class was actually the last one to do that. They stopped being so
They couldn't handle the aftermath.
I see another question in the chat. Esta pregunta es para la señora Alejandra. ¿Formará parte de la clase a continuación?
Creo que no. Creo que... Y discúlpeme porque yo no sé mucho de tecnología, es un poquito mucho para mí.
No hay problema. De todos modos, aquí siempre está bienvenida si gusta compartir con nosotros.
Muchas gracias.
Hay que Abraham
Muchas
se
gracias,
ponga a
muy
trabajar.
amable.
Lo siento, amigos, pero no pueden competir con las novelas.
Es true. No se crea, es una broma.
Obvio. Pero de todos
Good night,
modos.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank
Miss
you.
Lois.
Actually, I have something that I wanted to bring up that might help you guys consider what the role of nursing or caregiving is. One of the schisms that I found was that nursing is considered an art, like a healing art, but you better know your science because it's in this day and age, you can't practice the art without the science. And that was, I felt very sad and hard for some of the nurses that were going through the process that had to drop out because their heart was definitely going towards the caring and wanting to become nurses, but the science and the math were too much.
Yeah, I have a friend who's going through the school of nursing as well, and he sometimes is like, I cannot go out with you guys because I have a test, and you can see him. He sent us like screenshots, Like, I'm not gonna help you, man. It's hard stuff, but definitely, I'm glad that you guys go through the whole process because the world definitely needs you guys. Like, muchas gracias porque sin ustedes, el mundo se viene para abajo.
Well, I just hope that I get a good nurse at my bedside. I'm hoping that what goes around comes around.
That's another story. That's another book.
Please.
Oh, hopefully it's not like a Twilight kind of book, please. Gustavo, you had a question or something?
Yeah, I just want one thing to say. Thank you so much to Luz and to Señora Jaramillo. Or did I say it right or not?
That works too.
Both of you.
Abraham's mom.
But so I wanted to say thank you for everything that you're doing, and just like Luis said, you're in Son Angeles, and the other thing that I wanted to say is that sometimes I get writer's block for months. Sometimes I just can't seem to write on the topic, but I wrote my homework already, but I have to be patient, right, until next week because we ran out of time, and it's our homework, right? I have to be patient.
That's the whole point of the class. Thank you, man. And Andy
I'll be
just
patient.
offered Luz a job. Luz, are you looking for a job?
No.
Sorry, Andy.
My last job was as a school nurse, and I just to stay in touch with the school. I was a volunteer in the special ed class, and one day the principal approaches me and says that one of the nurses had quit, and if I would consider coming back to work. I was very flattered, but I wanted to run.
So how long did it take you to say no? 2 seconds?
I was like, wait, you gotta be kidding, what? No, school nursing was an amazing, that actually was probably my favorite job.
Well, maybe Luz can send you one of her minions, you know?
Say that again?
Maybe Luz can send Annie some of her minions. Like little...
Yeah, I like to play with kids.
Kathy does make a good point that there is also telehealth. So.
Yeah, that's true. Very good point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not to drag it out, but we are now, a few minutes over our time. I really do appreciate all of the questions and you volunteering for this, Ms. Luz, igual usted, señora Alejandra. Le agradezco mucho su tiempo y toda la información que nos presentó. And I want to give a shout out to Abraham again for teaching us something new. I learned about the human library thanks to him. So, thank you, Abraham. Y una vez más, solo para recordarles, la semana que entra, aquí estaremos. So come ready to workshop your writing. Hopefully this gave you a lot of material for you to write something from the perspective of a caregiver. So yeah, thank you everyone. Y yo creo que aquí ya nos despedimos. Que pasen buen resto de su semana. Have a great weekend.
Have a good night. See you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Adiós, gracias.
Gracias.
See you next week.